Hello. So I picked up this faulty Pokemon Crystal cartridge for quite cheap because it had no label and it doesn't save games anymore. Let me show you. See how there's no continue option? And if I run through the setup and create a save, when I turn it off and on again, all of that progress is lost, which is rather useless. Luckily, you can resolve that issue by replacing the battery. These things are really cheap and will last for another few decades. But what about the label? Well, I could buy an aftermarket one on eBay and stick it on, but I had a different idea. Whilst I was away in Japan, I found some Pocket Monster Crystal versions for really cheap. Here it is. This cost me 1,100 yen, which is about £6 or $7 or $8. Now, the Japanese Pokemon Crystal has this epic print on the back of the cartridge, which is actually on the circuit board itself. Obviously though, this cartridge is in Japanese, which means it's utterly useless to me. But I have a solution. Let's open them up. You can't simply just swap the front pieces over because the game cartridge shells are different and have different screw locations, which is incredibly annoying. Plus, that would mean we wouldn't be able to get the cool artwork on the back of the cartridge. So we have to go for a far more complicated method. Swapping the ROM chips over. Great idea. Let's get on with it. I'll start by applying some flux to the battery on the Japanese cartridge, which is also dead, and then we can remove that. Once that's gone, I can clean up the area with some desoldering braid and isopropyl alcohol. Now comes the complicated task, and believe me, I struggled with this. I added flux to both sides of the chip and started using my hot air station to remove it. I found it so hard to get any leverage under the ROM chip to lift it up, and I'd been at this thing for about 5 minutes and was really worried about burning the silk screen of the circuit board. And since the game cartridge is actually clear, you would see any of the damage straight away. So what I ended up doing was adding a bunch of solder to one side of the chip and heating all of the legs up at the same time, and then I could lift it up with my tweezers. And once I had one side up, I could use the hot air station and lift up the other side. Then I had to clean everything up and get it ready for the new components. But before they could go on, I had to carefully remove the ROM chip from the English cartridge. But having literally just done it, it made this time a lot easier. Once it was off, I cleaned up the legs and got it ready to go onto the board. Getting this ROM chip on was also quite tricky. Initially I wanted to use my hot air station, but again getting everything heated up was just proving to be a nightmare, and I was still worried about the risk of burning the white silkscreen. So what I ended up doing was individually soldering each leg down and then adding a bunch of flux and a bunch of solder and really got those legs covered generously, and then little by little I cleaned up the solder on the legs so that they weren't all joined together. It was quite the process, but the end result was fantastic. Before fitting the battery, let's give this thing a test and see if it works. Hooray! Look at that, English text on a Japanese cartridge. Right, now let's replace the battery. Okay, and we can close this thing up and see if it works. I am so pleased with that. I'm actually going to be auctioning this cartridge off for charity, so go ahead and check out the link in the description. Thanks for watching.